So we'll call together tonight's Green Efforts meeting, the February 4th, 2025 Green Efforts Committee meeting. And we will start with public comment.
If anyone from the public has called in and would like to speak, please raise your hand. Nothing. All right, moving on.
And a quorum?
Yes, that means we have a quorum.
All right. No, you're just
You're fine. You're just fine. We're giving you a couple minutes.
Oh, I thought John was going to be here.
I thought he would, yeah. So, all right.
It's cold and nasty.
It is very windy. All right, so no public comment, right? Moving on to presentations, I don't believe we have any, right?
Well, actually, I have quite a lot to say. But first, I brought these for everybody. Just a little set of goals. They're from the Garden Club of Hartford. And I thought everybody should have a copy and just see what we can be working towards.
You have a lot of these, Bruce?
No. So I just want, do we have a tree planting initiative? Is this the right time to be bringing these up?
Probably under other at the
Okay,
end.
I'll bring those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that all right if we just hold off?
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll go down to administrative, and the first thing was to approve the January 7th, 2025 minutes. Can I have a motion to approve? Moved.
Yes.
For a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved.
All right.
Revise the rules of procedure. Here.
I can just cover this real quick.
Great.
For some reason, for the past 10 years, every time there's been a town council liaison change, we've updated the rules of procedure. So this was just going to be one last time revising it, and now it's just going to be the town council liaison shall be the chair, because that's what the town council has dictated, and then the staff liaison will be the recording secretary. And that way we don't have to change it every single time.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions?
What prompted this?
Keith is now the liaison instead of Amy.
So Amy and I switched due to conflicts in schedule, so she was gonna have trouble making it, and so she's taken, and then I was put on a second meeting on a Wednesday night, so they put me on here and then moved her somewhere else.
Okay.
So we'd be changing it anyway, but.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
but so this way, in January, say, because
Yeah.
there'll be an election in the fall, if I'm not back, you guys will
Yeah.
just roll right through, it'll be
Yeah,
fine.
right,
You don't have to do it,
right.
so.
So as long as we don't name any names.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. It's just
Okay,
an easy one.
right.
We have a motion to approve the revised rules of procedure.
So moved.
In a second.
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, that's all set.
Okay, so
Okay.
D, which is townwide cleanup.
So Jen has said she's working on the poster. Stacy has said she'll have the sign up done when she gets back from vacation next week. Spring newsletter, Bree, you sent that over to me
Yeah,
after the last meeting, so I've
Yeah.
got that for
okay.
whenever that comes up. And I'll just wait on sign up, and if we have any prizes, just add that.
So, Rose Ponte said she would be happy to publicize, this is quite a while ago, happy to publicize this event in her
Yes.
townwide e-newsletter. So I wrote up a little thing about it, for her. You know, basically I took the flyer and just sort of shortened it. But it was a chance to, in an effort to get businesses to step up with volunteers and prizes. So I'm hopeful that will go in her, she said March newsletter.
I think that sounds, yeah, I'm trying to remember. Her and I talked about dates, and I don't have.
Is she monthly or quarterly? She's monthly, right?
One is monthly
she's
and
got
one
two.
is quarterly.
She's got a
This is
monthly and a quarterly.
quarterly.
It used to be, everything was monthly.
Hopefully she can sneak us in twice in
Yeah,
April as
yeah,
well.
I don't think
Yeah.
that's gonna be a problem. It's more of, I think, long as we get the sign up in, that way we can send it to the businesses too.
So I'll send this to you because it needs to go in with a sign-up genius.
Yes.
So people, okay,
Yeah.
so I will make sure you get this.
And I'll coordinate with Rose. All right.
Move on to F, the public.
I'm almost done.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And I know Jennifer said she's working on prizes. I think he said
Yeah, I'm
you're
gonna
gonna.
gather some too. I'm gonna double check with what Johnny did a couple of years ago, because I know he had some success and he had the money in towards like wooden tap things, and so.
Yeah, just because it was a building, he owns a building company, so. it's
Yeah,
not
whatever
like-
he does, I'll do, as well, and then like I said, I can harass a couple of the other
Yeah.
owners I know around town to.
Anybody have a pen I can borrow? I don't think I have one. Oh, thank you, thank you.
Got a red marker. And then just one more thing I have to add, it's just a request to appropriate $90 to purchase stickers for the signs.
Oh, I thought we did that. Sure.
I had to get a quote for this meeting.
Oh. Ah,
So,
yeah, so moved. That sounds great.
We have a second for stickers? I'll second.
you know, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, now I'm all.
So F is public education goal, education topics for future newsletters.
So for spring, we're doing the cleanup, and then, I don't know, I thought we talked about doing something for summer.
Well, the Dark Skies Initiative. I've
Dark
already
Skies
written
went in
that.
for the winter newsletter, I know that.
Oh, it did?
Yes.
Oh, I thought the recycling went in for the winter.
No, I think we're gonna, that's what we'll do in the summer.
Okay,
Because winter was dark skies because migration in April and May.
right,
That was the reason.
okay.
And
And then, yeah, and
We'll do
then,
recycling in the fall, summer, and we can put a reminder in as well for the fall migration season.
okay, great.
Running through everything in my head.
Right.
Alright, so summer will be recycling. That's already done. Gosh,
Dark Skies is done too. As is the, piece for the townwide cleanup.
it'll be clean.
So I wanted to know if we could get an extra page and, or just get a full page, not a half page. I know I keep bugging you about it.
Spring? No.
I know you said
Because,
budget.
and it's also, the cleanup takes up most of a full page anyway. I can check about for the other newsletters. And sometimes it just depends on what
Right,
needs,
how much.
so, on my department side, there's stuff we have to post for stormwater as
Mhm.
part of our stormwater permit twice a year, 3 times, it's at least twice a year. So we need a section for that about picking up after your dog or only rainwater down the drain, which some of it is connected to green efforts of not polluting the environment and stuff like that, so,
All right, well, I will continue to bug.
No. And it could also be if we can come up with a joint topic where it comes from green efforts, but it covers basis of our stormwater permit.
Right.
That might work too,
Mhm.
of just some initiatives to, okay, sorry.
So next would be what, waste reduction goal?
Yes, so I do have good news. I did hear from Sam Kilpatrick. He was able to include money for the second half of the school year next year at IAR, to give time, and that's January to June, so that's to give time for setup and education with the students, and then they'll plan to start in January.
Of 2026.
Of 2026, so, because the way the budget year works.
Right.
But that's January to June as opposed to September to June, so it's not the full year, but that's most of the year.
Right.
And you also include costs for the sorting stations, and they're
Right.
seeking a grant to match the rest of it.
Well, he said it was $6,500 for the sorting stations, and they're seeking a grant match for the balance of $13,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you talk to the assistant superintendent and curriculum instructor to coordinate the educational aspect program and have IER faculty work with students to bring the program to the middle school. Board of Ed approved the superintendent's budget last night, so it's still got to go through the rest of the budget process with town council.
Is there anything we can do to urge that forward, or do you think that's a slam dunk, or?
The way, I mean, it's gonna, I mean, it'll be presented in with the rest of the BOE budget, so town council is not gonna, they don't, we wouldn't specifically say no to composting. I mean, it would take something.
It's such a small amount.
Yeah, it would take something very, very rare, and there's nobody on, it would take something dramatically different. If for some reason the school budget itself was, there was, somebody took an issue, it would be taking issue with the entire budget, and then it would be up to the Board of Ed to decide what they wanted to keep or not. So if they came in with a budget and town council knocked the budget down some, then at that point, that's when that kind of push and pull happens.
And where do they go for grant funding for something like that?
I know for Westwoods, it was the Noel Wallace endowment.
Uh-huh.
I think, is that what it's called? That
Yeah.
sounds right. But there might be some other, grant funding that I'm not aware of that Sam might be for schools, for green initiatives, for stuff like that.
And, sorry, I just don't know this, but is there going to be an effort to roll this out in all the schools?
Don't know. I think the biggest cost is the sorting station.
Right.
So I think the actual, as a line item, the compost disposal is not a big
Right.
increase in cost. It's really just that upfront cost of the sorting station that the school has to worry about, or the Board of Ed has to worry about. So
Okay.
it might be
$7,000 per school or something.
right, plus grant funds, so it's really $13,000 per school. So, I know as of right now, there's a state statute that, institutions that generate 26 tons or more of waste per year have to compost their organic waste, and it's not 26 tons of waste, it's 26 tons of organic waste.
Mhm.
So I think I kind of did some extrapolation math with how much waste was generated per student at Westwoods, and then applying that to the high school. And I think the high school is just shy of that, of it having to be a state requirement.
Oh.
That's not to say it doesn't change in the next year or two, that they drop it down. The state has generally been increasing the standards, so lowering the threshold where you would apply, where this would now apply to you.
There's more companies coming up that are trying to make that easier too, between like Blue Earth and Yoko.
I mean, well, there's other ones
There's
in
other
the,
ones around, yeah. I've
Blue Earth is
been
the
approached
main one.
at my restaurant a bunch of times for.
yeah. I mean, and that's the food waste, because like the waste oil and everything like that, that gets recycled anyway, so that's not part of
Right.
the biogas,
Sad.
thank you.
So
So, yeah, so I think
Okay.
it's really, that is just the big problem with rolling it out.
Mhm.
I mean, there's the education aspect too, but as we've discussed,
Right.
if you're doing it, start it in one school and then move up, easier, because then
Right.
kids have the knowledge as they're moving up the system. Problem is going down to the elementary school with
Right.
kindergarten and all that,
Right.
where
Right.
they teach kids what can and can't be composted.
Yeah. Well,
I think it works in
yeah.
the first two schools, I don't see why it couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like I said,
I think
both
it-
directions.
Right.
that upfront cost is
I mean, I think if you would just, I mean, it seems like we're working out a template, and that,
Yeah.
there's no point in not doing it at the other schools. Wouldn't want anybody to feel left out.
right.
Um,
And I didn't get anything from Sam on number 2, so I'll check back with him next meeting. I think he was supposed to be working with Matt Ross and Board of Ed.
You had some items for other?
Go ahead, Bree.
I do. I wrote a piece for the town newsletter last November. I think it will run in the spring. I guess it's running next on Dark Sky.
Yes, the Dark Sky one, yes.
And I wondered, Dark Skies Connecticut does a fabulous presentation on dark skies that makes you realize how important this is. And I'm wondering if we would it be zoning? I mean, I think it would be important to have some maybe zoning rule changes about lighting and how much lighting buildings have and which way that light points. Anyway, if you hear the Dark Skies Connecticut presentation, I found it very convincing and very horrifying. Having had a bird hit my house last night, just, he was fine and off he flew, but pretty sad what's going on in terms of lighting. And it would be great if town council or the zoning board or both could kind of come together and, have some real lighting regulations. And
it would be a TPC thing.
TPC.
Yeah. So the thing because I've had the Dark Sky presentation before with professional organizations, obviously for the people that are writing the regulation. So when a commercial development comes in, we have our own view. I think the zoning regulation is not verbose or detailed, but that doesn't mean that town staff is not stickler for the lighting. So we'll look at different lighting, I guess, proposed. So we had one where a developer was proposing different light than they got approved. So one of our staff went out and looked at them at an actual site in another town and said, no, this is way too bright. If they're glowing up at the sky, that's not going to happen. So the staff on our own level does do that. I think the biggest issue, I think I've mentioned this before, is the single-family residential properties where there's not really a say, and you can just kind of pick up whatever bulb you want from the store, and it can be as bright, and you get the LED motion sensor light that just lights up your whole backyard at 6,000 Kelvin, because that makes everything look bright. So I think doing a community presentation, which I think Dark Sky has no problem doing at the library or something, to try and educate residents, and we can also, or we do it here in the council chambers, and we can record it and then post it on, it's a Zoom webinar, we can post it on the town website as well, so people can watch it. I'm sure Dark Sky probably has a recording somewhere of the presentation.
Well, that's a good idea, doing a public meeting.
I'm sure Jocelyn at the library would be 100%.
Yeah, I think the only reason I suggested council chambers, because I don't know if the library's got cameras and everything, we've got the cameras set up here, so it'd be easy to just do a recording, and do it on Zoom, so if people want to attend from home, that's easy too.
I will say anecdotally, at TPC meetings, one of the number one things that commissioners are good about asking, and then obviously town staff, like you said, is lighting. Making sure they're dimmable, making sure there's specific watts, and I've seen Shannon as recently as 10 days ago, up at, by Naples, checking people's signs and lights and removing neon signs and doing things like that. So certainly town staff is aware to some degree. I'm sure everybody moves do better.
So our internal standards are no more than 4,000 Kelvin, nothing passing off over the property, downcast lights. We prefer motion sensors and timers. Some people push a little back on that a little bit. And I think Leo has made that case. What's Leo's last name, if you remember?
Oh.
Okay.
I don't remember.
The Connecticut representative for Dark Skies makes a good point of that if the lights are always on, it's easy to find where the dark spots are. If the lights are on motion sensors, people get caught and then they run away. It's your fight or flight kicking in. And when the light kicks on, that's when you're like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here, I should skedaddle, as opposed to just being a light on, you can kind of find where the dark spots are. Because we've had pushback from commercial properties on that. The reason we give is the motion sensor. And we actually have other lights that are dimmed unless there's motion, and then it picks up. So you can still have a little cursory light, and then if there's motion, it kicks on. I think IAR, the parking lots are all motion sensor.
Mhm.
So the plow guys like it because they pull in, the lights kick
Right.
on, they do the parking lot, they leave, the lights turn off,
Yeah,
so.
right. Well, that's great. I'm glad to know. I think what comes to everybody's mind is the Mormon Church, so, I know that when. What'd you say?
Right there.
It's warm lights, at least.
Well, I mean, but talk about uplighting. You know, for all I know, the Catholic Church and the Congo Church have the same thing. I just don't, I'm sort of used to that, but the Mormon Church is quite bright. And I think I know because I was at those town zoning meetings, they were asked to make sure their lighting was toned down, and they didn't do it. So, anyway, or somehow it got through without things being toned down. So, that's just, I'm glad to hear that dark skies is something that the zoning board already considers, so, okay. Now let me see, what else did I? Oh, and, so I'll send you the Rose Ponte business newsletter piece. And I also thought might be interesting, and we talked about this a little bit at the last meeting, to have, I had suggested at one point that we ask businesses what they're doing to go green. And Rose said, well, why don't you do a questionnaire? Well, I don't really know how to do a questionnaire. So, and I don't know who would tabulate something like that, so I just thought that we could put in, you know, something like, is your business or organization making an effort to go green? And then I have a whole list of things that you might or might not be doing. And I just thought the Farmington Green Efforts Committee would like to know about it. Please drop us a line at, and then I stopped, because I'm not sure where this information should get sent.
So, there's a couple options. One is I can do a questionnaire. If you give me if somebody gives me the questions, I can
I could do
Make
that
it-
on
make-
Google, couldn't I?
Yeah, if it's easier,
Right.
because what is if I get the questions, I can make it the questionnaire, send to Rose, and then usually you can get it exported as an Excel spreadsheet,
Mhm.
so it'll have their information, and then whatever, you know, will they have comments, so it's a spreadsheet that we can share with everyone, so they can review it. And see if you want to highlight any businesses for any green efforts they're working on or trying.
But where would they reply? Where would they send their replies, I guess?
Usually, it's best to send it to me because I've got a town email address.
Good.
But I can check with our IT if they can set up an alias for my email address. So there's basically a fake email. So it'll be greenefforts@farmington-ct.org,
Mhm.
but it'll really be my email address that it goes to. Let me check our IT department on that.
It's a lot for you to do.
That's
I
not.
mean, I'm envisioning a flood of emails, but I'm sure there will be very many.
Have it auto sort to us,
Okay.
and then send it to everyone.
I would include, like, if you were putting together questions that you wanted, just think from the perspective of getting the email myself, you may want to just almost front load with like, hey, these are easy tips to go green in your business and feel good about,
Right.
you know, what you're doing, just so they have the information. Then, if you don't mind telling us about these things that you're doing, you
Right.
know,
That's a good idea.
answer anonymously if you want. You know, you just don't
Yeah.
want people thinking that they're submitting for punishment.
Mm.
Okay.
I would guess.
So what I did was say, making an effort to go green, installing solar panels, replacing old and leaky windows, making use of heat pumps or geothermal, creating less garbage and placing more emphasis on recycling, keeping the temperature a bit cooler in winter or warmer in summer. Any other ideas? I mean,
For business specifically, it depends on the business, you know, like, you know,
Right.
restaurants getting people into composting and,
right.
you know, things like that, and
And restaurants versus businesses, the cafeteria, I
Right.
think Trump has a cafeteria.
correct.
So like a business with a
Okay.
cafeteria, they might fall under that, they generate enough waste that has to be composted anyway, but,
This will also probably go to the architect that has a home office, they're like, you know,
Right.
I'll keep my thermostat. So you never know, you know, it's
Yeah,
gonna
right,
cast a wide net, whatever happens happens.
right. Okay, I think that's, okay.
The next meeting is, anything else, Garrett?
Nope, so the next meeting is March 4th. And I'll put a reminder when I send out the minutes that we want the posters and the sign-up done by the March 4th meeting, so that way we can get it out to the public, start, advertising. I know John had mentioned that he's been working with the Lions Club to get them situated with us again this year for collecting the cans. So I will just need to check our supplies before that next meeting.
I have one other question. Do we have any sort of tree planting initiatives in town? Do we have a long-range tree plan, or, I know I see the power company cutting down trees, but I don't know about planting trees. And the town has had these efforts before. You could go online and they would have two different kinds of trees, for instance, a certain kind of crabapple and something else. You could buy them for $150 as long as you planted them within viewing distance of a road, for instance.
Yeah, it doesn't ring a bell, and I don't remember seeing anything about it. Doesn't mean it didn't exist.
No, I know that
yeah.
because I bought a tree.
Okay.
So,
I don't know, there's also with, the Arbor Day Foundation,
mhm,
you can get the bare root saplings,
mhm,
so we can do, we can
right.
see if there's a program through them as well. I'll look into it and see if I can find anything.
Well,
I don't know.
and how about the town replacing trees, or the town having a goal for how much tree coverage we have on our streets, or anything like that?
So, I don't know of any replacement programs that we have. I know, so with subdivisions, we require, I think it's one tree for every 50 feet or 25 feet. I want to say I'll go with 50 feet. So basically, if your lot's 100 feet long, wide, you need 2 trees within 25 feet of the front property line.
Mhm.
So we've got street tree program through there, where it's on the responsibility of the homeowner and developer. We don't sign off on the permit until they're installed, but the onus is on them. It's not like it's a cost on the town side,
Right.
aside from staff time to inspect. So, let me see if I can figure out more about that. I'm sure there's something.
I mean, they've done all sorts of studies on the importance of street trees and cooling qualities, and, that's
Right.
not really a huge problem here in Farmington, I don't think, but, I can think of stretches of town where it would be nice to have a few trees.
Yeah, I
Along
know.
Route 4 and,
Yeah, the problem is the power line. The power
Yeah,
company doesn't
well-
want anything near the power. Hence why it's a wall along the power line.
right,
But if you're
right,
in Devonwood, where everything's underground, it's all shady, there's sunlight on the roads.
right.
So it's just it depends on what kind of utilities you have is really the problem.
Right, and where they're located, but, there's always the other side of the street, or a lower tree that doesn't grow up that high.
Right,
Not the same
like
thing.
the crab apples or,
Right.
some of the dogwoods don't get that tall,
Right.
but they're smaller, they're thinner too. It's not like it's a pine or it's an oak where
Right.
you've got a big canopy.
Right. In terms of providing shade, I'm not sure. I'm just not sure whether just having trees
A little
around.
bit of shade,
A little bit of shade.
depending on the angle of the sun.
Right.
Every tree casts shade,
Right.
where the sun is.
Okay, well, thank you for looking at this.
Folks online, anything in the other category before we go for adjournment? Going once, going twice? All right, so can we get a motion to adjourn the February 4th meeting?
Well, I'm in for a dime and for a dollar. I think I've done all of them. So moved.
And a second? Anybody online?
Second.
Johnson?
Oh, there we go. All in favor?
Yes. Aye.
All right, so the next meeting is March 4th, and that's when the real big push for townwide cleanup begins. Even more in earnest.
Yeah, Thank you, everyone.